Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
And I played all three different sets, and I played some of the other sub games as well too. But one of its failings is you're one character. You're following, except in the last one, that you can do a second character for parts of the story, but you're force fed along a certain storyline, and it's an open world, but it's not an open world at the same time. And I think it's a limitation of the game. That it would be cool to be able to have that world, but do anything. Like comparing that to Skyrim, which is an older game. It was open concept. Yes, there was a certain story, but you didn't have to play it. And there's enough mods out there that you can do completely different stories within that. But you're not tied to being a certain type of character. You can focus on different attributes. You focus on magic. You can focus on archery. You can focus on being a tank. So it's like whatever you want to do. Witcher, you can't quite do it as much. But the richness and the detail of the world, because it's following Sapkowski's books fairly well.
Yes.
Not exactly, but fairly well.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I'd love to see a marriage of the two. But one of the failings I see in both of those games is they're single-person games. I'd like to see something detailed and rich that's multiplayer.
So video games is a trickier one for me because on that end, it's tricky because for me it depends on the game. It depends on so some games are amazing, have amazing like you can do whatever you want concepts. I think my favorite. Probably one of the best early examples of that, and pre all the open world fantasies, Grand Theft Auto. Believe it or not, not playing the actual game is far more entertaining than playing the game itself. Honestly, the only reason you play the game is to open the world map up. That's the only reason. And you can still. I did this. I figured out how to hack into all the other cities in Grand Theft Auto. You just steal the train. It's actually one of the most amazing little things they left in the game. It's like, can you rob the train? Holy shit, you can rob the train. Right? And I took it to the next city because it's like, oh my, that's like, and you don't live very long because you're a very wanted man. You just stole a train and you took it to another place. I mean that's frowned upon, but the idea that you can do that still is incredible. But. So I do get like why people like. I think if it's really well developed, it can be an incredible thing. One of my favorite games though is Final Fantasy 13. Now, right now, here's the thing about 13. For the majority of the game, you are force fed. But here's the thing about that game: the story dictates that because it's just what you're fighting. You're being led to a path until you get to a certain point in the game, and at a certain point in the game. You get to like it's 13 chapters. You have to play to chapter 11. Now, the other chapters are very short. Chapter 11 is the one where you can do. There are quests galore. There's all kinds of stuff. You don't have to follow the straight and narrow path anymore. I recommend you do until you get your experience up on your characters. But once you get your experience up, you don't have to go to the next place right away. You can go back. You can go explore, you can go see different things, do different things, you can grow different things up, all the way up in such a way that you can do so many amazing things in that moment in time. Now eventually you go forward in the game again, but there's another point where you get to come back here and the game's incredibly deep in those two pockets. Like there's a lot you can do, explore, see. But the nature of the game requires you go down a certain path. It fits the story perfectly. That said, I understood why people hated that. I liked it because it was the story being told that got me there. It made a lot of sense. Skyrim definitely though I will say though too what you're saying. Skyrim definitely opened like Skyrim. There's another one. What's it called? I want to say Hero of Ages, but that's not what it's called. Dragon Age. Dragon Age is something very, very similar to Skyrim. Like that kind of game has taken off a lot more. I think games are interesting because interaction is the language. I say interaction is the true language of games, not necessarily the story you're telling, but the interactions you create in the games. And that's where storytelling in games is. And so there has to be a point where there's a fine balance between what the player experience, can be experienced, and the surprises work differently there. Is what I think. It's not about telling the story so much, although that's important. It's about what can I do in this situation, right? Where can I go? What can I see? How can I do it? And does it fit with the expectations I have here? Right. And it's still an expectation. You're still playing with expectations. But I think the thing about games, that interactive dimension that games add to it, it forces game designers, like really AAA studios and all that stuff, they have to take into account, well, what the player wants to steal a train to go to the other city. Well, we'll kill them, we'll penalize them. Yeah, but what they still want to do it? Let them. You have to have that somewhere in the game at some point, somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely awesome. And one of the things that I do like playing, especially the game that I made myself, is I can make my own story as I go.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to play it like that as that tank, I can do that. If I want to play as a magic user, if I want to play as a priest, if I want to play as a rogue, I can play any different way. And it's just the replayability with different stories created in the same world. That's one of the things I absolutely love about video games, which got me into modding in the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I like playing.
Yeah. So what's your favorite games right now? Like when you do play games besides your own?
Besides my own, okay. If you look at my Steam account, you're going to see over 900 hours in Skyrim.
Oh, so Skyrim's your jam. Okay.
Yeah, over 700 on Witcher and climbing. And Civilization, where did I think I stopped? 5, I think I stopped. Maybe it was 4. Probably in the 300 to 400s. Everything else is minuscule compared to that.